What up guys, SuperMetal983 here bringing you another album review, and this time we're going to be talking about some sick down-tempo from 2019 that you just really need to try out, and make sure you pre-order this one. It's due to drop on June 7th, so yeah, make sure you get your pre-orders in on time. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about the debut album from Distant entitled Tyrannotophia. Yeah, I'm no good at pronunciation, but anyway, this is going to be released under Unique Legal Records. As I said, it drops on June 7th, so make sure you get your pre-orders in. Now, if you aren't too familiar with Distant, they are a five-piece, sort of down-tempo deathcore band, hailing from the Netherlands, but these guys have adapted themselves as not really a straight-up down-tempo band that you would expect. These have adapted more of a slammy sort of, beatdown sort of influence into their sound to become a new beast lurking within the down-tempo genre, if you ask me. Now, I first got introduced to this band a couple of years back with their EP entitled Suku Yomi, I believe it's pronounced. This one right here, because they were doing a European and UK tour with Osaya, and that's how I got introduced to the band and decided to check them out, and I was really impressed with this EP. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do so. It's really heavy, really gritty sounding, so if you want some really gritty down-tempo, definitely check out this EP if you ask me. But that was a while back, and now we have the band's debut full-length album entitled Tyrannotophia, I believe how it's pronounced. I'm no good at pronunciation, as I said before. It's 11 tracks and runs around 35.5 minutes in length, and I can safely say that this is easily one of the most pummeling sounding down-tempo releases you will hear in 2019. But like as I said, this has a lot more going for it than just your run-of-the-mill down-tempo band. This takes a lot of influence from the likes of brutal death metal, slam, and even there's twinges of beat down in there for good measure, just to give it that real characteristic and makes them stand out in amongst all the other down-tempo bands. And that's definitely what surprised me the most about this release, is the influence coming from each side of the spectrum, like, to create this really unique and very unique sounding album, if you ask me. But that doesn't let off in the fact that this is still a down-tempo release that you don't want to mess with. And Unique Leader has been pumping out some of the most intense deathcore to come out in 2019, and Distant, I think, joins the line very nicely, especially with this one. Yeah, I got this promo, I think it was like 2 days before they announced the album, and I was really excited. As soon as I saw it in my emails, I was like, ooh, I can't wait to listen to this. And I stuck it straight on, and I was like, oh, I was impaled against the wall with how brutal and heavy this album is. Like as I said, I knew straight away that this is not just your run-of-the-mill down-tempo thing that we expect from you know, the down-tempo genre. This is a lot more darker, it's a lot more sinister sounding, but it's still creepy and very repulsively heavy. This is easily one of the most pummeling sounding albums you will hear, and this is definitely a one to get your beat down on, if you ask me. That first came into fruition with their intro song, The Blind Prophecy, which makes you know straight away that this is just, yeah, expect brutality from the get-go. And the first proper single that they released from this album was 010, I believe how it's pronounced, featuring Harry Davies of Drifted, make sure you check them out as well, and Ben Mason from Bound in Fear, two incredible vocalists emanating from the UK metal scene and deathcore scene, obviously. And as soon as I heard that song, I was like, yeah, this is going to be something very brutal right here. And the album itself is just, it just emanates that, and when that track kicks in, you just know you're in for a violent, intense battle at your forefront of just crowd killing everyone and just bringing the brutality, especially on that song. Excellent stuff. And then that flows into the third track, False God, another solid track on this album. You've got another guest spot on this album from Fernando Del Villa, I believe how it's pronounced, from Cannibal Grandma. I got introduced to them at one of the Fall in the Brawls. I think it was the second Fall in the Brawl, if I'm not mistaken. I was really impressed with them, and to hear his voice on there just made us think back to that day when I first saw them, being really, really impressed with them. So I think their combination of their voices definitely really brings the more slammy aspect in that song, because it's still, like I said, it's still a strong, violent, down-tempo album, but the slam influence just come left, right, and centre to create like a really repulsive atmosphere that you just can't shake off, if you ask me. And then the title track, Tyrannotophia, yeah, we'll get on with that. Tyrannotophia, wow, what an absolute relentless ride. That is definitely something, especially towards the closing moments of that track. You know that is just an absolute monster monolithicness of a song. It's just massive sound, and it just pounds you right into the fucking dust, and that's what you need with a down-tempo, and you need to be buried 6 feet deep and just being pummeled down in there with 10-ton hammers, and that song definitely does it, if you ask me. That flows into a little interlude called Chasm of Despair, which is another fantastic bridge to really set the mood, really, for a dark, it kind of has that really dark, like blackened sort of atmosphere on this album a little bit in the background, just to make it more you know, sinister sound and really twistedness behind it, and it really emanates well and reflects really well, because it really creates that really disturbing, twisted atmosphere that is just mind-blowing, if you ask me. Anyway, and then we flow into Hollow Eyes, which is another fantastic, brutal song on this album. Same for the Enslavement as well. One of the tracks that they have released after I got the promo was Hears of Torment, which is the music video done with Luke Schmerler, I believe how it's pronounced, of Mental Cruelty. Now, I've already talked about Mental Cruelty this year with their monumentally crushing new album, Inferus. Make sure you check that out as well on my channel. It's incredible album. But that song definitely, that song is where you realise, well, if you listen to that song, you know that Distant are here to create sheer utter violence and destruction with that song, and just create the most disturbing, repulsive down-tempo that they can offer. And this is definitely, that track definitely represents the album, if you ask me, and brings the brutality. One of the first songs that was released, that I remember they released, was Endgame, which is the 10th track, which is only a minute and a half long, and it's just a really sick, twisted, heavy breakdown, just crushing your soul. And quite frankly, I was just like, when I first heard that song, I knew straight away that this was going to be a dominating album, and I was like, ooh, whatever they're working on behind the scenes, it's going to be some pretty sick shit. And then they were teasing that they were going to do a split with Bound in Fear. I believe it was last year or the year before. Can't remember off the top of my head. And they released a song called Inside Out, which is a Shrill Whispers cover. And I was really impressed with that song. I jammed it quite a bit. And to hear it on this album, I was like, yeah, that is the perfect conclusion to this album, because that really harkens back a little bit to the MySpace eras of deathcore. Not like, I wouldn't say like Angel Maker sort of stuff, I would say like very old Suicide Silence sort of stuff, like, you know, that old era sort of vibe. And like 2008, 2009, so if that sounds up your alley, make sure you hear this cover. But it definitely has that kind of modern twist to it, if you ask me. So it really brings it to the modern times, because a lot of bands are now getting influence from the MySpace sort of era, if you ask me. And to kind of conclude this review, the production sound is very crisp, very clean sound and production, but it's still violent and very chunky sound. And this is something that you really need to blast hard and really just feel the intensity and emanating from this album. I mean, it's one of the most disgusting sounding albums I've heard, and it just really it just feels like twisted, and just it makes you feel like you want to take a shower after this album, because it makes you feel really dirty and gritty. And I have to say, the vocal performance on this album is absolutely exceptional, if you ask me. Mind-blowingly good, from the monstrous low gutturals that are on here to the epic, like, crisp, sharp, high vocals that are on here, and the, like I said, the kind of hardcore-y sort of elements on here. I believe it's on the song Hollow Eyes, I think it is, or Chasm Despair. Hollow Eyes. I think it's that one, if it's on my head. But the hardcore sort of vibes on there really, really get you set up, really pumped up, and then when that breakdown hits, it really hits you very fucking hard, and that's what down tempo has to do. It has to punch you in the face. It has to hit you with a mallet really fucking hard. And this album definitely does so. But as I said, it really has more to offer for down tempo, in my opinion. Because it's not just your straightforward run-of-the-mill down tempo. As I said, it influences a lot of other genres to create this really unique character in the down-tempo genre, and I think Distant have done that very fucking well. You can hear all the influence, and it sounds great, if you ask me. So yeah, if you want songs to check out, I would say 010, definitely check out Heaters of Torment, the Shrill Whispers cover, Inside Out, and also, what's the song? Yeah, the title track, excuse me, Tyrannotophia. Yeah, the title track of the album, Tyrannotophia. If you want some sick down-tempo to listen to in 2019, look no further than Distant with their debut album, Tyrannotophia, released on the Unique Records. It drops on June 7th, as I said at the start of the review, so make sure you get your pre-order in and check out the tracks, link down below. When the album stream goes up, I'll leave a link down below where you can check that out. It'll probably be up on June 7th or June 6th, we'll see what happens, but I'll update it down below and any other tracks to release. But for an overall score though, I'm going to give this a solid 8 out of 10. Absolutely fantastic album, and I just cannot wait for the future. They have got a bright future ahead of them, especially with this album leading the charge. Make sure you check out Distant from the Netherlands, and I'll see you in the next video, and remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.